Welcome to the Making of You podcast. We have tons of talented friends in entertainment, media, and advertising, and this is our chance to sit down with them and hear their stories. My name is Ryan Huffman. I'm the owner and founder of Huffman Creative, a production company here in Los Angeles. And today I have my good friend, Randi Wilens. She is a very talented manager and producer that has had a very impressive career in this wonderful city. Today she runs her own company, RW Media, and she's managed and represented creatives for a very, very long time. Randi, thank you for being with me here today. It's
My
great to have
pleasure.
you.
Love seeing you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So Randi, just to take it back, I mean, I would love a little introduction just from you on how you got started in this industry because you have such a fantastic journey and story. And would love to just kick it off to you and hear a little bit about you.
Sure. So I grew up in LA, and I went to USC Film School, and I always wanted to be around filmmaking, but not being a director, more of a producer, and really a professional connector. And I started working on features when I got out of school, and um, and I was a story editor and an assistant when we didn't have a computer and we didn't have cell phones, but we made movies. So my skill set was pretty right on, you know. And then a headhunter came after me um, to run a music video division at a production company that I really didn't know anything about short form commercials or music videos. But I was very excited about it, and I had kind of got tired of being on a feature for a year and watching films get made slowly. And so it was very exciting for me. So I started working at a production company, and my first video that I ever did, which is interesting to say now because it's coming back, is Spinal Tap, and where we rotoscoped Janis Joplin and Roy Orbison and Jimi Hendrix into the guys playing. So it was very exciting to work with those guys, and now they've got a Spinal Tap movie coming out. So you're talking about all these years later, so it was very exciting. And then I did, it was before internet, and I did X-rated videos for Nine Inch Nails. And I worked, it was a different time, when you wanted to show a video to someone, you had to go to their office. So it was just a whole different dynamic. And through that, other production companies started to come after me, and I landed at a big production company where I started their music video division, and it was a huge commercial production company. And I just had a vision that music video directors were going to be doing commercials, and they laughed at me. And this was quite a big company in Santa Monica. And they were about 10 production companies owned by one guy, an umbrella. And they also had a feature division. And so I ran the music video division for everybody. And they started to see that what I could do for $100,000, that they were spending $400,000, and they couldn't figure out how, because music videos were, we were down and dirty. So I ran this production company for quite some time, and it was great. And I brought in directors. This is when you gave directors guarantees. I wanted to sign a big director, and he wanted $300,000 guarantee just to be there, whether he worked or not.
And you said,
I
sure.
told the president, you have to give him $300,000. And they said, you're crazy. And I said, no, I'm not. Give him $300,000. And my first job was Michael Jackson, and it was $1.3 million. It was
There you go.
It was "You Are Not
That
Alone."
300,000 was
Three
worth it.
was worth it. So it was the "You Are Not Alone" video when he was married to Lisa Marie,
Oh,
and
yes.
this is when they were spending, $500,000 was nothing on a music video, and so that was an adventure, and then they through adversity came opportunity. It was I started building my directors into commercials, and then they gave me my own commercial company, and I thought I was rolling, and it was amazing. And then a little backhandedness came, and I decided to leave, and it broke my heart because when you do too good a job and they break your heart, because they tried to take a director away from me and sign him to their company. I realized that I went to France for 2 months, and I'm never doing that again. And I came back and I started my own company.
Well, that was an incredible accelerated story of your journey because I know that you are filled with not only experience, but just wonderful stories, I'm sure. Um, so to kind of go back a little bit to walk through your journey, back with these other companies and whatnot. What was the landscape like in the music video scene that at that time? Like you kind of got to see it evolve into something, into the biggest that it ever was, and honestly probably ever will be. What was that? Can you maybe walk us through what the environment was in that time and what the industry looked like?
It was fascinating, and it was epic, and music videos, so you didn't I in my office, I had 4 TVs, and they were going all the time, and you had VH1 and MTV and BET and Fuse, and then you'd switch to CMT, but music videos were the pulse of the world, and you could create anything you want. It was a director's dream. And if a director decided he wanted to shoot in Prague, we all went to Prague. Um, and also there were DVDs then. So I used to shoot live concerts. I used to produce live concerts all over the world because the DVD business and MTV in New York. We had an office in New York as well. And we shot 35 millimeter. And I used to hire Spielberg's DP, Janusz Kaminski and Darius Kanji, and you'd hire these guys at $6,000 a day, and your budgets were $500,000, and you shot 35. So you were really making movies. I mean, the labels knew that I was such a cinephile, and they used to call me and say, "We've got this Bob Dylan project or some really esoteric artist, and who do you think would be good for it?" And I'd come up with like, Julian Schnabel, really interesting artist, independent filmmakers that I studied because I'm such a cinephile. And there was a lot of money, so you could get feature people involved and immersed in music videos. It was such an amazing time. You didn't go into a record company where people weren't playing music and talking, also there were independent labels. You had Geffen and you had A&M, and it wasn't corporate America. It was really about the music. And concerts, you'd call anybody and say, "Well, can you get me 2 tickets? Can I get on the list?" And you go in their closets and they give you 100 CDs to go home with. It was really an amazing,
Yeah.
amazing time.
I was gonna ask, I mean, I think, and there's obviously a lot of variables to this, but this was also pre-streaming, pre any of that stuff. So there was so much money to be made in music videos and in record sales and
Record sales,
everything. Yeah, record
record
sales.
sales.
It's like any person who wants to listen to an artist who was
They
spending
had to
12 to $15,
That's right.
and that times that by, I mean, now we have Spotify and I can just go look up anyone I want
It
for,
didn't exist.
yeah.
So you used to that's why when I'd have thousands of CDs, I used to bring to my mechanic, my hairdresser. He would just
Yeah.
come with that get and give them out to people because they're $16 a pop.
Yeah.
And they used to just give them to you. So it was just it was such an enlightened time musically and visually, directors. There weren't a lot of directors. Now everybody with a camera is a director. But then you got we had our own like kind of Oscars, the music video awards were not like what they are now. It's kind of a game show with all due respect. It was really kind of it was a
Yeah.
business,
Absolutely.
and it was really respected. And directors, I remember the company that I was at said, "Oh, directors or music video directors are not only never going to do commercials, but they're never going to do features." And they were so wrong. I had such a vision that I saw it so clear that they were going, and they have.
Because music videos, other than commercials, I mean, you're still making something for someone else in terms of like an artist, but the difference is like you have the ability as a creative to write anything that comes to mind when you hear that song. It's like your creative control in a way of how you want to make it. And commercials typically like,
You get
yeah,
bored and you're
here's the direct, here's like, you can do what you want, but in between these lines. And a music video is like, do whatever you want.
And
You know?
also with commercials, because I had my own division, which I just never took to commercials at all, because there were, 15 people in the room, and I had no idea what anybody in that room did, with all due respect. Um, Coming from music videos, and features, where the directors were everything. In commercials, they weren't. It's about executing the boards. And in music videos, I really got to use my creative verve in going over treatments with my directors and why they had this vision and they could sell it to an artist and it was all about the creative. So nobody messed with you when you were on set because it was the director's vision and everyone bought it.
Hmm. Just like as you said, kind of like more like a feature, in that sense of
But
holding
once you signed
creative.
off, you signed off. And that's how it is now, just getting ahead of myself with animation, which is why I love animation and art installations and map projecting is it is again going back to the artist. When you hire one of my animators, someone had asked me a question, what if we don't like it? And I said, that's not going to happen.
I love that. It's like the true art form of like, I know whether it's painting or animation or,
When
filmmaking,
you
it's like
see, when you look at their work and you love that, that's what you're
that's what
going to
you're
get.
getting.
That's what you're going to get. And so it's not going to happen. And now in music videos, just to me that I've lost that joie de vivre is everybody has an opinion and they want you to make Blade Runner on a clerk's budget. And it's not going to happen. The respect for the game's just not there for me, especially because of where I came from. And I slowly saw myself losing interest and joy and watching people not care. And, I use that analogy that we used to be catered by Nobu and now we're catered by Subway.
Yep.
And so people stop caring and they don't have any money. And so you can't do the creative that you want to do. And then everybody's got an opinion. And, if you don't know any different, it's exciting to people. But for me, I had to pivot and I also lived in Seattle in the 90s. So we used to all hang out. It was that whole grunge scene was so exciting and it was about music and the visuals and it was a direct you look back at videos like Jeremy for Pearl Jam. I mean were videos mattered. They really mattered. They really made a difference. And now it's a great promotional tool, but I'm not sure if it matters
Hmm. Hmm. As much as it did, for
as it
sure.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and to go back also a little bit on when you were at the production companies, like I know we talked about what the industry looked like for directors getting into music videos. Were there other like people in your similar position that like were representing directors or recommending them, or were you kind of like the main person that like reinvented this or invented this
Honestly,
role kind of?
I was like the third. There was a girl who was, lived in Seattle, and she was in it before me, and she actually stopped doing it, and she actually gave me her contract so I could understand what it is and
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 what
what
she
she did.
did.
And what she did, but she had stopped doing it, so I kind of invented that the wheel, but there was one girl that was doing it successively before me, but that was it.
You became the person everyone was like, "Hey, who's this? Who I can go for this?" And you knew what was hot, what creatives were good, who was the best.
Yeah, I mean, I learned, it was kind of a learning thing that I you could find directors, you could find talent anywhere. The thing that was so exciting for me, and I still do it now, and I think it's something I've always had, this vision is that if I saw someone's reel and it spoke to me, I would I would I could get you a job. And so I would get first-time directors $300,000 jobs because their work was so amazing and they had one thing on it. So I was never a follower. I was a true leader in what I felt. If I felt it, I could be infectious and let someone else see it, which they did. And so that was an exciting time. And so, yeah, then I started to represent big commercial companies because they wanted to be in the game. And there was a lot of money, and this is when you got monthly stipends. And it was just a completely different time. It's funny, I have a friend who said, he is a cinematographer, and he said, if I knew that this was all going to go away, I would have had a better time. Because, because you just didn't think this was ever going to end.
No.
It just kept getting more epic and bigger and more creative and more music and concerts. It was really about the creative. It was really about the music and the creative. And then when you watch, I slowly watched it change. where record companies were all sold to corporations and A&M and all the Geffen and everybody sold. And, now if you go into a record company, you can hear that. You can hear a pin drop. There's no music playing. It's a business. It's all about numbers and it's all about money. And
And
with all due
streams and
respect
all of
and
that. Yeah.
streams, yeah. And it's not that there's not the creative, but that that love that people had for music and the joy. It's corporate now. It's
Mhm.
corporate. It's all owned by, corporate. So,
Mhm.
it's just changed so much. But, I still love it. It's still a wonderful format. It's hard to be excited about something that changed so much and not for the better. And yet when I lecture at universities and art schools and I show work and they say, is it ever going to come back? Is it ever going to come back? And I always say one word, never. It's never coming back. But what you don't know, you have nothing to compare it to.
Mhm. Exactly.
You know what I mean? So you really don't know. But when I look at it, what they don't get to see, what they'll never experience. But then there's something new. There's always something new. And so,
So to speak on, something new, I mean, after you worked at, these companies and worked with all these creatives, um, and I think when you and I spoke about this recently, it was maybe in 2020, 2022-ish, in that range is when you kind of saw maybe not the writing on the wall, but you saw some opportunities and some things that like really ignited like passion in you. And like, what was that next step like for you? What was it?
well, it was so exciting because and scary at the same time because when the pandemic hit, I knew there would be no live action, and yet people needed content. And so I sent out a newsletter to 3,000 people that are on my newsletter and said, let's not forget the love of the game. And you still need content. And there's animation. I started to get work. And then I knew that animation I'm a filmmaker, but I'm not an animator. But early in 96, because it's a good story, I was sitting in a movie theater and I saw a commercial for KCRW, our radio station here. It was stop motion animation. And I don't know what I saw. And I couldn't tell you how to do it, but it just spoke to me. And I tracked down the animator, called the radio station, called Chris Doritas at KCRW, and I said, "Who did that?" And he said, "Oh, this kid, he's at Cal Arts. He's, does experimental
Like
cinematography. And
19 or 20 or
yeah,
something? Yeah.
he has a year to do this commercial." And I called him and I met with him, and his work just blew me away. And he didn't wanna sign with the company that I was at because it was too big, and he was really an artist, very right brain. And so, when I left the company I was at, he had called me and he said, I've got this job, with Cypress Hill and the Fugees. Would you produce it?" And that was it. He was my first client, and that's when I started my business. And through that, we were nominated for Best Video of the Year. Um, we won Clio's. He won an Emmy for film title sequences, and subsequently, I knew that what a genius he was. He invented Dragon Frame, which is stop motion animation software, and I've been representing him since '97. He doesn't really do animation anymore, but the pivot to the story is if I had it then I still had the eye, if I could spot it then. And then I just started pivoting into animation and I just started studying it and finding animators and calling them. And I changed my entire career.
It's different than like the filmmaking side of it in that sense, but it's not that it's not filmmaking, it's just a different form of storytelling. And but it's still having that eye of like what you've kind of always had that eye of like what is good creative.
Always had it. Always had it.
And then moving into animation, I mean, what was that process like on your one of your some I mean, you were working with this one artist for a while, but every there's a lot of different types of animation. So did you sometimes have to just learn like what is this process like? What is this artist doing? How does it work?
Stop motion is completely different than anime and hand drawn, 3D, 2D, claymation. It's like it's a whole new language that I had to learn. And it fascinated me. And no, I'm not on set and that there isn't that production, but guess what? It's just as exciting. It's even more exciting. Um, I feel like I lived that and it was so exciting and so wonderful. But there's something about this pivot, and now I got into global tour visuals. So I've worked at the Sphere. I done animation for the Sphere, and now I'm doing map projecting and art installations on historic buildings in different cities. And I just got invited to go to India to speak on a panel about immersive content. That would not have happened 5 years ago. If you would have told me this is what I'd be doing right now, I I wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I also just think it's so wonderful that you saw this this opportunity in this path for yourself and even with your company, and now it's like here you are, even 5 years later. It's like now you're going to India and Dubai to speak on a
On a
panel.
on a panel. It's amazing. And now I find animators all over the world. And had I not reached out to George Berlin, who's a brilliant designer that does map projecting all over the world, and I saw his art on a building, and I contacted him, and I signed him. He's the one that introduced me to the people in India. So I'm just a connector. I believe that I'm a strategist and I'm a professional connector. And if someone's name comes up twice, I reached out to you.
Yeah.
I came after you. You have to meet me. I
Yeah.
said, you have to meet me. And you were like, well, yeah, okay, But I make people meet me, and I'm a connector, and
And
I
here we
come.
are.
And here we are.
Yeah. Yep.
And here we are.
Yeah. I absolutely love it. And we hit it off too
And we
in our
hit it
first
off
meeting.
immediately.
Absolutely.
Like we knew each other forever.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I call people all over the world. They call me now, and I track people down. I see their work. I represent animators all over the globe, from Sweden to Argentina, France, London, Berlin,
So cool.
Spain,
It's great.
all over the world, Poland.
You also touched on something earlier that I thought was such a powerful analogy of, back in the day for music videos, you worked with that director, you got what you got that director, that's the creative you got. Same with feature films, the director and the creative holds true.
Right.
And even as a company, we used to do a lot of music videos. We don't really do many anymore. And then and even commercials, though, it's like there's a lot of like politics and like decision makers and all of these things involved. And for animation, it kind of sounds like our conversations that like you work with this animator, and yes, you might have guidelines of like it needs to be like 5 minutes or something, but a lot of it's just what they want.
It's artist
right?
to artist.
Yeah.
I'm doing a project with Anderson Paak right now, and he loves Kid McGrath. And when artists speak to artists and you leave out all the middleman, you get brilliant content. And artists are so involved in their game now, whereas back in the day they really weren't. They kind of relied on the record company, and now they know. They get on Instagram. They'll contact my artist directly and go, I want to work with you. They have an eye. It's art. You're making animation, but it can be into a film festival. You can take that song and you can enter it into a film festival. It's just become this amazing, content on. You won't go to a concert without seeing screens of animation, which it used to be laser shows, and now it's art.
Mhm. I know the things that some people are doing in their visuals. I really like also when sometimes people mix live action with visual effects and stuff like that, or it's really intriguing. I love when artists do that, especially live shows. It's way better than lasers.
Oh yeah. Well, now and it's all about art, and I curated 12 art installations on a building in Denver, and I got that because I saw a guy's reel, and he called me and he said, I want to show you what I did on this building in Denver. He lives in Denver, and I looked at it, and it's brilliant art, and I go, how did you get that? He goes, "Oh, I live in Denver and there's this guy here." And I said, "Give me his number." And now I'm an art curator. So if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
You just really have to have the passion, and really love what you do. And so I've kind of followed that through, all the different things that I've been creating, from, screen visuals to map projecting. And it took me 2 years to pivot. It took a long time. I had to learn a whole new language, literally a whole new language and a whole new set of players. I'm involved with Dome Fest West, and, it's all domes. I just did something that for Polyphonic Spree that was, we were at South by Southwest, and it got the Best Audience Award, and it's immersive content for a whole album, and I believe that's the future too. So I'm just a forward thinker of what's next, and I think everybody's looking for something cool and new. So yeah, it took me a couple of years to learn a new language, learn all new people, and really pivot, but it's been the best experience
I love
ever.
it. So, just thinking about, the types of creatives that you're working with and your ability to always have a pulse on like what is hot and who's good. What would you say is like one of your main attributes or things that keep you going and that really define you, that allow you to be so good at what you do?
Curiosity.
I was gonna say curiosity, but I didn't want to speak for you.
Curiosity. I'm always curious. How did that person do that? How did they get that job? Who's doing that? How did they get that? And I will call. I'm fearless. I really am, and I'll call anybody cold. I'm curious. I want to know how things are done, who's doing them, and well, they need to know my people. And how are they going to know my people if I don't tell them about my people? So all you can get from somebody is no, boo hoo. And so I reach out to people cold all the time, and I've changed. My whole repertoire has changed. My whole career has pivoted, and I think it's being fearless, passionate, curious.
Curious. That's one of my favorite sayings. If you don't ask, the answer is no. So the worst thing someone can say is no. If you don't ask, you're never gonna know. So press on, figure it out, ask the question, and you could get a yes.
And you
You
could get a
know,
yes. You
you
know,
could be getting flown to Dubai and speak on a panel.
you could be going to Dubai and speak on a panel
Or in
about
India, yeah.
immersive content.
Yes.
Like I'm an authority on immersive content now. But it's exciting but I really studied it. I really did my homework, and I saw this was and now I started representing artists that I used to do with music video directors. They didn't know there was someone like me. So I kind of realized I could just pivot what I was doing into the art world, and I just was in New York for one of my artists had an exhibit, and I went to Mercer Labs, which is a venue part of Tribeca, and there was an immersive experience about all Robert De Niro's films, and you lie on this couch, and I think it's people want experiences now.
Mhm.
I think people
Absolutely.
really want experiences now. So yeah, I'm all about it.
I love it. And the thing that's also great about some of the artists you work with is like the animation world or that medium can be transferred into a lot of different, whether it's an event, on the side of a building, as you said, like on your
I
screen.
mean,
Like
it's
there's
gonna
so much
be
opportunity.
it's gonna be on every building around the world. I did Eric Clapton, 2 videos for Eric Clapton, playing in Times Square.
So cool. So with this new, I shouldn't really be saying new direction because it's not that, it's like a few years. But what is one of your favorite things working with animators or creators in general that really just excites you?
Bringing their vision to reality is that they put something on a piece of paper and they've got this vision, and everybody sees it, and no one questions it. And then it blossoms into this fabulous butterfly. And and working, with the South by Southwest, now everything between the cosm and the sphere, it's just the beginning. The film played in planetariums, and I think planetariums are next. You're gonna see fabulous content.
I mean, you said something really powerful. I do think that people will always crave good creative and good experiences and like there's only so much you can get out of your screen. And I do feel like whether it's these like virtual experiences or things are being projected or floating in front of your face, like I see that these types of creatives that can build those worlds is like a whole new thing that we're going to continue to see. Like it's like the sphere is like the tip of the iceberg,
I
you know?
totally agree. I went to see Seek at the, Cosm, and it's an experience of nature. It's not a music film, but it's very powerful, and I took my assistant with me, and she got so nauseous because you feel like you're moving, and it's such an immersive experience of 40 minutes can change. It's like meditation. It's this it's this it just overpowers you, and I think that's what's with tour visuals. One of my guys just did it, well, Billie Eilish, and he's just doing all the visuals, a lot of the visuals for Joe Kosinski for the film Tron.
Oh, wonderful.
I just signed him, and I'm so excited every single day about signing new people and seeing the diversity of art and doing book covers even for Random House and illustrations and doing brands, working with Kyrie Irving and Anta brands and working with Lenovo and Alessia Caro, that everything is merging. There's so much synergy in art and music and sports and commerce that,
Yeah. I never, that is so, I never thought of it the way that you just described it of like, with traditional directors, if you will, when you have a music video, a commercial lane, a feature film lane, not really even in the experience or whatever lane, but like animation touches all those combined and even more. When you just rattled off even books. Like I just think that it's so fascinating
yeah,
that
and doing illustrations, and you don't realize how powerful it is. And I think about, because I love books. I go to bookstores and I look at covers. I'm attracted to art, and I have bought a book by its cover. Obviously, I like what the book's about, but I was drawn to it by the cover. Art does that. Basquiat said it really well. He said that art decorates space and music decorates time.
that's beautiful. I like that. I know music is
And I
I'm
feel like I'm totally involved in both.
yeah, that's a beautiful saying. I love hearing just like this, like, just what you've created. I think like the through line that I see is like every time the curiosity has paved a way into something even like greater that you necessarily maybe didn't always see coming. It sounds you've had such a great story, I think.
Yeah, and I think it does. You got to be curious. If something moves you, move on it. You have nothing to lose. And I'm like a testimonial that you can change your career and pivot. Knowing how and when to pivot's really
Yeah,
important.
absolutely. So I think just looking back while you have tons of stories, like what are also speak at a lot of universities. So what are some of the key highlights that you touch on when speaking to a younger audience or someone that wants to get into this field?
You can't wait for something to happen. Having a degree doesn't make you talented. You have to get your hands dirty. You really have to get your hands dirty and be on a set and find the direction that you like. What is it, the art department? Do you want to direct? Is it the producer? Is it the, production designer? Really talented producers I worked with that become directors started as PAs. And that's why I think music video directors get so successful, is because they get in the trenches. They know what everybody does. They know what everybody's doing. It's not a cushy job, you know. So I think I try and inspire. And also I'm pretty I'm pretty blatant about it's tough. You got to go out there. You got to hustle. You got to hustle. You got to find somebody you want to know. Call them. People write to me all the time. Make sure you spell their name right. It's such a terrible thing. People write to me and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I take the time. And when I get letters, I always return people's calls, and they're shocked that I call them. They're shocked. I've had people reach out to me and have such a bad approach that I've called them back and
Told them.
told them, If you
Like,
want
you're gonna remember this call. Yeah.
I've done that at least 5 times.
That's amazing.
I go, you're never gonna forget me. You're never gonna forget this call, but I could change your life right now.
Yeah. Here's my advice. It's funny. I was talking to someone about it the other
It's
day.
important to do
It's
that.
so important. Even like a cold email. I was talking to someone of like, if you send me a cold email that feels like a copy and paste, like, hey, I'm so and so, and it's like there's no, it wasn't written for me. It sounds it was just like thrown out to hundreds of people. Like, I'm not going to respond to it. But if someone writes me an insightful, either a phone call or an email, it's like it's way more. I will be way more enticed to give someone a call back.
Absolutely. I had someone call me and he just had this great energy on the phone, but he was like, "And I'm looking for a job and I heard about you and you're so fantastic." And it's like, I waited, I was busy and I called him back and I said, "Are you kidding?" I mean, it was great that you had the tenacity to do that, but you don't even know who I am and you never even looked at my website. Big mistake. I never go to a meeting without knowing everything about the person and you learn that by making a mistake because you
Yep.
can never go back and say, "I didn't know that you produced an aura." Do you know what I mean? You got to do your homework, do
Yeah.
your due diligence, look everybody up. Now you've got
So much.
so
So
many
much.
resources.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, back in the day, I hate to say why I've got these amazing skills and memory skills is I was Google. I worked for major film producers. We had an office on every lot, and I was Google. When they asked me to find
Yeah.
something,
You
if I
had to go
couldn't
find
find, I
it.
invented it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I invented it and told them that it's exactly what they were looking for. You didn't say no. You didn't say no. So there's no excuse when someone says I can't find something. Honestly, my answer is if I find it before you do not come in tomorrow.
I love that.
And it's the truth because I don't understand that. Well, you can find anything
Anything.
now.
Anything.
So if you can't, it's because you're lazy. And if you're lazy, you can't work for me.
I love that. I agree. I mean, I feel like, well, for people I like to always look for people that are problem solvers and that also are, self motivators and starters who can figure out solutions because, uh, if they can't think their way through something, then it falls on me to think my way through it. And it's really difficult to lead a team if you're the only person that can solve a problem.
Just figure it out.
Figure it out.
It's the best advice. Figure it out.
Yep.
And if you can't, it's hard because kids don't have those skills now. They just don't. If they don't have maps, they don't have maps. They don't know how to go they don't know how to go 4 blocks. So, and I'm speaking from all of my assistants who I love,
Yeah.
but they can't go 4 blocks.
That mindset though is like I feel that the ability to problem solve, it trickles into so many other characteristics that like bleed success and opportunity because those are the people that hit a roadblock and instead of giving up, they persevere, they figure it out. And it's just the way that your brain starts working like years later. I feel that is why I've been able to be successful is my problem solving skills. It's never not I can't. It's like I will figure it out.
It can never be I can't. You really have to figure it out. And whatever it takes, and what a sense of accomplishment you have when you figure something out.
Feels amazing.
Feels
And then you
amazing.
learn as you have, like you learn new skills, you learn new things. That's always something I also, whenever I'm interviewing someone, I try to get a sense of if they've ever taught themselves something, whether it's like they taught themselves how to play the piano. I don't care. But it's like it shows me that they have that curiosity.
Well,
to
I
teach
just
themselves.
taught myself, and I'm extremely proud of myself because I have a dog trainer. And if you're consistent, if I could take the things that I do in business and parlay them into what my dog trainer is trying to teach me about training my dog, I'd be a rocket scientist. And I found it very difficult to do, and yet I could do it in business. It was very difficult. I just wanted my dog to be trained. I just wanted to be trained, but it's consistency. And I have a dog trainer who is just a masterful communicator. And he's changed my life into where I do things with my dog now that I'm so proud of myself. It's better than closing $1 million deal. My dog will stay in the car until I say come. He will stay anywhere until I say come because I did it.
And you accomplished it and now you know how to do it too. Now you know how to train dogs. I think that
Well, I know how to train my
yeah,
dog.
your dog. Don't call Randy to train
Don't call
dogs.
me about a dog training.
Side business, side business.
Side business. He changed my life and made me think, why can't I take what I do into the science of teaching my dog? Because I wasn't consistent. You know what I mean? All the things I do in business, I found hard to do with my dog, but my dog, it wasn't going to happen if I didn't change the way I thought. And now I have the most amazing Australian Shepherd 3-year-old.
I love that. That's beautiful. I think also what you're saying too, which I want to relate to that really quick for a second, because I feel like I grew a lot a few years ago when I realized that there was this one thing that I knew I needed to always do, and I would always make time for it. But in reality, when I look back on that time period in my life, it was a project. I was supposed to edit something, and I was editing a sizzle for an artist. And I used to always think like, oh, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it tomorrow. In reality, me looking at myself in the mirror now, is why I always procrastinated it is that I was afraid of doing a bad job or afraid of getting uncomfortable of not being good at something. So it's way easier for me to sit here and do work all day versus touch and edit that I wasn't very good at. And here I am, like what happened. So I ended up doing the art that sizzle. It took me a long time. I was not good at editing. I didn't edit in 10 years.
Right.
And then fast forward now, 4 years later, I'm working with a new artist, and there was a sizzle that this editor was doing, and I took the sizzle from the editor, redid the entire thing myself, and then gave it to the artist, and they loved it. And I was like, wow. I went from being afraid to touch this to now 4 years later, I'm able to take it. I'm not an editor, but I'm
You
not.
didn't want to challenge yourself.
Yeah, I was
It
like,
was easier not to do
it's
it.
easier not to do it. It was easier for me just to like think about it and put it off than in reality, I was afraid of not being good at something. And I forced myself to try and try and try. And I'm not editing, my commercials and movies, but I'm a lot better now than I was.
You test yourself. It's such a great challenge. I mean, I spent the weekend and just going off on a tangent to telling myself I was going to take everything out of all my drawers and clean out my drawers. And when I did it and did it for 3 hours, I felt like I had just won the lottery. It was like you do something you put off, but when you do it, it's such a sense of accomplishment. And it's the same way that I feel of changing my career, is that I would tell them that my skill set's keen and smart, but I'm not an animator, and I'll learn. I want, when you want to learn and you want to do something, it's amazing, the power.
Have you heard the expression? You probably have, but the expression "eat the frog." Have you and I talked about this? Have you heard that?
No.
So I forget who invented the saying, but eating the frog is like this whole philosophy behind it of eating the frog is whatever habit or thing that you want to do the least that day, you do the first thing before you do anything else. And it talks about how
It's very true.
it like puts you in this momentum forward. And I even do that now where like if there's this phone call that I'm like dreading,
Right.
where I like don't want to do X, Y, and Z, I will try to do it first thing in the morning or you could think about it all day and then it maybe doesn't happen. I'm thinking about it for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. So it kind of talking about persistence and trying new things of like embracing uncomfortability and like doing that first, like pushing yourself to get it out of your way, like opens you up for so much more. It's a beautiful, I think, feeling of, and you just said about cleaning the drawers.
Yeah.
You're like, some people they'll sit and think about it for months,
And
then
when
if
you
just
do it, I feel the same way with the
Right?
dog, and the same way
Yeah.
with finding projects and calling people, and if I make sure that I meet 15 to 20 people new every month. It's just a goal. I have to, and then I look back at all the people that I've met, and if you keep that momentum going, you just keep the momentum going. And new projects and who's doing this, and I want to know who's at Netflix and who's in animation here and who's doing that and who's doing that. If you stay curious, you'll totally grow. But it is good to get out of your comfort zone. It'll make you stronger. It does. And I back in the day when music videos were like making movies, and we wouldn't get a job, and after working for like a week with boards, and it was like prepping for a feature. That's the kind of preparation you did, and we wouldn't get the job. And everyone was upset. My director was upset. I was upset. And I'd say, I'll tell you what, we can talk about it all day today. And you can say fuck all day today. And you cannot call me about it tomorrow. Because if I'm holding on to what I didn't get, then I can't get something tomorrow. And you gotta let go of stuff to go forward. So in a way it's getting things that you don't want to do them, because if you let them out of you open up. It's like
Yes, absolutely.
letting go of something that isn't working. If it isn't working with someone I'm representing, if things don't work, you know what, don't fight it. It's not meant to be. Let it go, because if you let that energy go, great energy comes your way.
100%.
You
Because
just don't know it at the time.
those things also build up. A lot of people don't realize that they're holding all of these things up in them that they could slowly chip away and get, because good energy comes in. Exactly. If you're filled with all this like, oh, it just is nice to if you maybe can't get out all at once, but slowly chip away at it. It like, I don't know.
Well, that's my whole duck theory that we've talked
Oh yeah.
about
Can
before.
you share the duck theory for the
So we get into my duck theory is that, you hope for things are going to go well, and you try and be really optimistic. But when there's a duck in the room, if it quacks like a duck, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, you can convince yourself it's a bunny rabbit all day long, but it's a fucking duck. So now when I even get the inclination, I tell my assistant, up, the duck's in the room. It ain't quacking, but it's in the room. Let's know it's in the room. Be insightful enough to know when something isn't working, and don't pretend that it isn't there. And that's a big mistake. And I try and teach that to students too, is if it isn't working, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. But if it's broken, you need to do something about it. Don't pretend it's not there. So that's my duck theory, and I live by that. If the duck's quacking, it's like, oh, we're done. We're done.
This
We're
is
done.
what I
I
thought.
see the duck. It isn't a bunny rabbit. It's a duck. I see the duck. The duck's quacking away. And I believe in that theory, is, let things go. Don't be afraid to let things go. And through adversity comes opportunity. And, don't be afraid to make mistakes. And you learn more from mistakes than you're ever going to learn from success. It's really true.
So powerful. That is so true.
And it's just so true, I mean, really, had I not had this adversity with a production company that tried to take a director away from me, um, I never would have known I could start my own company. I never would have known that. And my theory is you can either be an entrepreneur or you could climb the ladder to a layoff, because that's really where it's at right now. If you should really, I never saw that. So it's like, what a favor that was. And that's why I laugh. I wish I would have had a better time in Paris if I knew I was going to start my own company. But it was only through adversity that I went, I'm never working for anybody again.
My friend likes to say that you're either learning or you're growing. It's kind of like in that same mindset of like the learning is sometimes not fun.
Yeah.
But that's where you learn to then grow later. I think even my own career, there's been times where I'm like, man, this is brutal right now. I feel not great. But then looking back, those are all things that I learned about business, about people, about myself.
And know what you don't want to do again. You don't always know what you want, but you should always know what you don't want.
100%.
That's
believe
more
that.
important than anything.
Yeah. That's what I tell people if they don't, sometimes if they can't make up their mind, I even do this to myself. I'm like, okay, well, let's just talk about what you don't like first. And that will lead you into what you do.
It's true.
At the very least, we can knock a few things out of the way.
It's really true. No, it's true. Knowing what you don't want, it's, and I had this theory, which I told you also, you can't be a little bit pregnant. You're either in or you're out. Be decisive. Be decisive. It doesn't feel right. It's not right. If you think you can make it better, make it better. But you got to be decisive. You got to make a decision. You can't be a little bit pregnant.
I love that.
It's just true.
So with that too, what is your I mean, I don't want to call it a belief, but like, how about like trusting your gut? I feel like you're someone who trusts their gut.
Intuition is everything, and I can't teach that. And that's what's interesting. You either have it or you don't. And I know that when I meet students, and I know when I speak to people, I can't teach you guttural instinct. I can't teach you intuition. That's the most important trait to success, is having instinct and not caring what anybody else thinks. Follow your own path. Follow what you want to do. I've taken directors from nothing. It's a thrill that I have in making them changing their lives because I know I can, and they're artists, and the joy that it brings me. But you have to really follow. If you don't have passion, you won't succeed. You just can't. You can't. You're not going to be lucky.
Would you say that good intuition falls also in line with like having good common sense, or would you say those are like somewhat the same?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They're definitely related.
I caught myself the other day explaining to someone about like what makes a good producer. And I was like, I don't know how else to say this, but like common sense. Like if something is missing, if they catch a mistake, like what to do in certain situations, when to speak up, when to not, when to fight your battles. But those things sometimes you can improve, but some people do literally have it or they don't. It's very interesting. It's an interesting skill and trait.
Well, years ago, I was telling my assistant I did this video, and um, my producer and my director's been having it difficult. We only had a certain amount of hours left, and I was there for like 10 hours, and it was 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, I'm going to go home. Is everybody cool? And, I told my director, you only have 2 hours left. And I went home and I get a call from my producer and he says, you got to come back. Director's out of control. He doesn't believe he has 2 hours. And he goes on, I go, what? I just left. And you're going to tell me you can't handle this now? And he said, no, I think you need to come back. I said, okay, well, this is how it's going to play. I said, I'm going to come back, but I'm not paying you. And he said, oh, I'll call you back. He figured it out. It's just that simple. I did videos and that's common sense. And it's also knowing how to play and play fair, as I did 11 visualizers for Paul McCartney. They wanted one more and they didn't want it, but they didn't have the same amount of money for the last one. And they said, and the 11 were great. They were great. Paul loved them, Sir Paul. And he goes, but we don't have the same money and we don't have the same kind of time. And I said, okay, well, this is how it's going to play. You go to Sir Paul and tell him that I'm going to do number 12 and it's going to be good, but it's not going to be great. And then you tell me what he says. And they came back and somehow they found the money somehow they found the money and the time. And I make them feel like it's their decision. And it was not their decision, their idea. But that's how you have to do it, because I don't want everything I do, my name's on it. And I've been doing this 25 years. And, I've had some it's a roller coaster ride when you're an entrepreneur, you own your own business. It's a roller coaster ride. You've got high highs, low lows. You never get used to it. You think you do, you don't. But that's the adrenaline that pumps you. That's what keeps you going and makes you curious and hungry and want to do something new and want to hit a plateau you haven't reached. And that's why it's like a little thing, like training my dog. It sounds like a little thing, but that was a real fait accompli for me, that
You could do
I
it.
could do it.
Yeah. I love it.
I feel like a 12-year-old when I get out of the car and I go, stay. And I can walk across the street and he's there and I'm going, yes, I did this. I learned the skills from the trainer, but I had to do it. So people that send their dogs away to be trained for 3 months, they don't understand when they come back. They don't know who you are. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that small sense of accomplishment, like cleaning out my drawers that you don't want to do, you get such tremendous satisfaction when you deal with it, whether it's like you said, dealing with something uncomfortable. But when you deal with it head on, I believe that's when better energy comes your way.
And I feel like I used to, not even just with work, like I feel like in my 20s, there were definitely times when I like would avoid, whether it was like, oh, I didn't want to hurt someone's feelings, so I just wouldn't say something. Or like,
Right.
oh, I didn't want to do this. Oh, it was like, and I would, but then what in reality, waiting and not being just honestly like direct,
Right.
what like, it was just not a healthy way to live. Not that I had like some like really bad problem with it, but I just feel like now I'm so much better at it. I think again, I was afraid of like failure, afraid of making someone mad or angry or something,
This is something that I saw, and it's true, and also because I have to play all these roles with all the people I represent. But it's true. It says, master these to succeed. Speak like a lawyer, express like a philosopher, think like a scientist, analyze like a psychologist, observe like a detective, love like a poet, decide like a judge, create like an artist, work like an engineer.
Wow, I love that. I love it. Was it decide like a judge, right? Was that so
Decide
it's
like a
kind of like what
judge.
you just said was like no means no and don't do half pregnant.
Yeah,
That's one
you
of them.
gotta, yeah. And I represent so many artists that I know when they're, it's a very personal relationship I have because I'm producing for them, but I know what the ones that are going to be late. I know how to assuage a situation with the with the client. It's a skill set, with the client. My animators, I want them to be happy. The artist, you gotta. It's a tap dance.
Yeah, you're thinking ahead, you know how something's gonna snowball into this and they're gonna respond this way to that. And like it's such an intricate web of
And
decisions and
it's how
actions.
it's not what you say, it's how you say it. That's another really important skill. It's like it isn't really important to tell people how you feel. They will love it. They will respect it.
I think there's a way to do it too. Like being, I know I said it a few minutes ago, honestly direct is like, it doesn't need to be mean. It can be, it's just truthful. And sometimes that just needs to be said in order to do great work or make good things happen.
Well, you know what? It's approval is rented and respect is owned.
I like that.
And that's the truth. So, like the Paul McCartney situation, like at the end of the day, if the duck's there, it's going to be a duck. And if it doesn't feel good, don't do the job. And I can say that because I've taken those jobs that you think you can fix, and you're going into it thinking I can, but you can't. And don't what I mean? When you know it's a duck, and you tell yourself it's a bunny rabbit, you deserve to get quacked. You deserve to get quacked. And you can say that because when you've done it, that's the best learning lesson is the adversity that you have. Like I say, I wish I could tell you I knew I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I love when I hear that. I love Shark Tank because I love Mark Cuban and I love it. I learn a lot about strategy. I learn a lot about strategy and business um and you got to listen. You got to listen to your gut. You got to
I
listen
know
to your gut.
checking the more and more that I do entrepreneurship, I've run my own company, like trusting your gut. I feel like so many times I'm like, you know what? The first time this came up, that was there, and here I am, like 6 months later, and it's still the same. If it quacks like a
If
duck,
it quacks like
and
a
I was
duck.
like,
No, I've
gosh,
had someone just come from me the last 3 months wanting tour visuals, and now they came to me and they want them, yesterday. And you know what? It doesn't feel good to me. And all my people are on. It's summer. You know what I mean? And they had their chance, and yeah, when you start to feel the only reason when you say is if they do it my way, all my way, okay.
okay,
And if not,
but they probably won't.
and they probably won't. And that's okay too. But sometimes you walk away. It's amazing how fast they come back. If you really walk away, because you go, this job isn't going to turn out the way I want it to. You think it will. I know it won't. And we're the judge. We're the producers. And you walk away when they come back. It's no different than a love affair. It's no different than walking away.
My dad taught me that growing up, and this doesn't apply to everything, but he used to say sometimes, my dad is a great businessman. He said sometimes in order to make the deal, sometimes you have to break the deal, in the sense of just say like, okay, that's it, I can't do it, and then sometimes they come back. I used that once on a project where I got on a call with a group of people and they were going through this budget, and I was just like, this is like line by line by line by line.
Right
And it was
then.
an hour and a half phone call. And at the end of the phone call, I've only done this once. This is the only time I ever did this. And I said, and I knew that they had nowhere else to go because they had no time and the only one they could do it.
Right.
I said, you guys seem to really know what you're doing and how to produce. So like, you want me to cut 30, 40 grand off of it? That's my company fee on this. Just let me just take myself out. You guys know how to produce it, and then you hit your budget. I don't need to be involved. And then
go. There you go.
And then
there's dead silence.
I was like, oh wait, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Well then this is what we need.
And it's like, let's start at the beginning
yeah,
again.
and it wasn't like I was being like an ass or
I've
anything.
done the same thing.
I was just like, yo, like
Walk away.
If you walk away. I was like, if you know a guy that can do it, then why are you talking to me?
Yeah, and by the way, my attitude is I'd like to be 5'10" when I wake up in the morning That's not going to happen.
No, House in Malibu,
Yeah,
like that too.
not going to happen.
Yeah.
So the truth is, if you can do it, if you can find 30 grand to lose, do it. I don't do that so much because I don't do so much live action anymore. I do live concerts. One of my guys is doing Outside Lands now, but yeah, if you can't find that extra $5,000, then like I said, it's going to be really good. And
It just might not be
it might not be
great.
And you decide, because I'm telling you right now, it's your choice. So you get to make that decision.
100%.
And
I've done that in a couple of different facets. That was just one that just like was very, I've only done that like that extreme like once, but it was so valid. I was just like, oh my gosh, I could not.
Such a great feeling. What's such a great feeling about that is that you really are going to walk away.
I was like, I don't need to do this job.
Yeah, I don't need to do this job.
Yeah.
If you guys know line by line and you think you can cut it out, then you don't need me.
Something my dad used to always say too, though, is when make your yes mean yes and your no mean no. Of like, if you say you're going to do something, you need to do it. Because if you don't, then people are just going to be able to yank you any direction that you want. He talks about that with parenting. He talks about that with even with earning respect from people too. Sometimes the follow through is hard, but it still builds character and respect.
It totally does. It totally does. So yeah, it's and again, we're talking about, you gotta have a guttural feeling about certain things, because you want it to work, but when you know, you know. And at the end of the day, your name's on it, my name's on it. So if it's not going to be great, I don't want to do it. And again, when I can figure it out for it to be great, I'll do it for not a lot of money. It's the job I want. It's just when it can't be done right, I don't want to do it. Because at the end of the day, what's funny is they'll still blame you. You can never go back and say, but. And that's what I try and teach, is you can never go back and say, but I told you. They don't remember that part.
You said yes to doing it.
You said yes to doing it. So if you can't do it right, don't do it. And if it comes out bad, it's my fault. And you got to be responsible for it. And that's why,
I learned that the hard way early
Well,
on.
we all
where
do.
I said yes to people.
You say yes to everything.
Oh, we can walk the budget down, down, down. We can do it. Blows up in my face. It's still my fault. Even if it wasn't, it's my fault.
That's exactly it. But that's also being successful, is taking responsibility. I know it's my fault. Even if it wasn't my fault, and I hired a bad producer, I still hired the producer. Yes, it wasn't my fault, but it was my fault,
That's another, I always own your mistakes.
Own your mistake.
When you're wrong, admit it. Don't tiptoe around. Like, this is my fault. If you come out the gate apologizing and admitting fault, it takes the wind out of someone's sails when they're going to sit here and like smack you with something. Not actually smack you, but like yell at you for something. If you fall on the sword first, they're like, oh, yeah, you're right. You did. I am upset about those things, but the way you just said it, it's like it calms the situation.
It does, because you're taking responsibility. It's not, you don't want to battle.
No.
You want to own it.
Especially if it is maybe your fault.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, you have to own it. Yeah. And there are times, listen, I can't control certain things with animators that when they're late, but I let them know. And that's another thing, is always be ahead of your client. Always be ahead of people. Be ahead of them. Don't have even my animators, your client, don't want them calling, well, whatever happened to, if you tell people what's going on, you've eased the situation so well. Don't ever run from it. You know what I mean? Like, deal with it. It's not going away.
Nope.
There's an elephant in the room, and we got to acknowledge there's an elephant in the room. You got to learn by making some hardcore mistakes. And if you're smart, you become super successful because of it. And if you're not, then you didn't have common sense to begin with.
And good intuition.
And good intuition. Exactly. So that's true.
Well, this has been an amazing conversation. I know we could talk forever. I'm loving this. I'm just curious.
I made you have lunch with me.
You did, and I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I like to talk about too, and just like I encourage people that are listening of like, when you touched on it earlier, but if you have that person that either you know or you don't know, but you still have that curiosity to reach out to them, I'm always telling people, like, do it. I had someone that I sat down with the other day. I was his intern when I was 20 years old, and he popped up on my LinkedIn. I hadn't talked to him in 13 years. And I was like, I'm just going to reach out to him. And now we talk on the phone every other week.
Yes.
And we talk about running companies and AI and creative stuff. And we're like best of friends now. I'm like, and you don't know those that are just sitting waiting to be like unearthed. And like some people just are like, oh, I won't do it. And here you are. You reached out to me. We knew each other, but not at all.
Not at all.
Not well.
Yeah.
Through email a couple times. You talked on the phone, and then here we are.
I reach out to people cold all the time. I reach out to people. I represent 3 filmmakers that have basically turned me down because they didn't really get it. Well, I don't know. I'm on something now. I go, okay, I'll call you in a couple months. And I've stayed on them and I make them again and I love them, but they had to see it. But I had to make them see it, how good this was going to be. Do you know what I mean? And then it became their decision, but I didn't stop. I don't take no for an answer. There are no no's. There are no no's.
It's only a maybe not right now.
Yeah, I go, okay. So I go, so when this guy posts, so when are you available? You know, so when can I send you stuff? And, you know, I've had other people say, well, no, I don't really need anybody. I go, yeah, I can change your life. And I do. And I say it because I mean it. And I do. And I really want them to see the vision that I have. And so I'd like to say everything is rosy. People just go, oh, wow, I can't wait to meet her. You have to be an animal. You have to care. You have to be passionate. And you have to make people share what you see you can do for them or how I feel about their work and how I can change their life, you know, which will change mine.
So as we look forward to the future, I know that you're going on your trip, but what is something that you're just excited about right now? Like what are you excited about?
I'm so excited to meet all the people that they haven't met yet. I mean that. When I mentioned this to you before, when people ask me, who are your best clients? And my answer is the people that don't know me yet. And that's the truth.
I love that. You've always been such a people's person that just connects with people on so many different levels. And I love hearing that how you reach out to 15 to 30 people a month. That is amazing.
Every day
That's
I have to meet
amazing.
someone new. And when I send out newsletters, if 4 people, I know people see it, but when 4 people respond, I'm dancing the jiggy around my house. It's like, because you get excited because it's just, you're putting it out there. You're putting it out there. You can't stop putting it out there because if you stop, you're dead. You know what I mean? So you should always feel pleasantly surprised and not surprisingly disappointed. You know? Put yourself out there and just keep putting yourself out there and it'll come. If you build it, it'll come. But if you stop building it, nobody's coming. I really believe that. And it's worked for me. And some people respond to you and some people don't. Okay, so I move on to the next. But you never know who that person that you connected with is going to connect you to.
I always say
That's the
that
whole thing.
a
You
door
don't
behind a
know.
door, you never know.
The one that you think is going to be nirvana right behind that door, they're going to take me to the golden land. Never happens. And the person that you don't want to have lunch with or you don't want to meet with is the person that changes your life. So if you're not open to it, it won't happen.
I know some of the biggest opportunities that have come to me have been through like just out of the blue, number one, but not necessarily out of the blue, but through not a direct line. It wasn't like I went to Nirvana's manager and they got the biggest video I've ever done. It's like, no, I happened to go to a show and met a guitarist at an after party that then mentioned he played for this band. And then next thing I know, I'm in a group chat with Nirvana. Like that's how it happens.
I asked this guy, how'd you get on that building in Denver? And he goes, oh, you need to know David Moak. And I call David Moak. And next thing you know, I'm an art curator doing 12. I've got 12 and getting paid for it. And it's like, I could do this. That's the real beauty, is that sense of accomplishment that you went out of your comfort zone to learn something new. And when you're constantly wanting to learn, you'll succeed. That curiosity comes right back.
I think that is what makes successful people in this industry, is that curiosity and that ability to learn.
Well, it's funny going to India. We were on the call with the main guy in India, and we were talking, and I said, listen, curiosity is the key. And he goes, that's what we're going to call it. Curiosity is the key. And now that's the name of the conference.
Is it really?
Swear to God. Swear to God.
I love that.
Swear to God.
Oh my gosh, that's a great name.
Curiosity is the key. And then
you were like, what's the event about? Yeah.
I go, wait a second. I just named a conference in India that I'm going to. And again, if you open your open your mind to meeting these new people. All these wonderful opportunities have happened to me because I reached out to people that I thought, there's nothing wrong with saying I want to know who you are. I want to know you. I do it on LinkedIn still. You connect with people that how would they know you otherwise? How lucky people are to have these
Tools to meet people.
forums. Yeah, to meet people. I'd never be able to represent directors all around the world in the 90s.
Yeah.
It's a love curse thing, you know, um, the whole technology. I do represent three AI artists, and they're super talented, but they're not my hand-drawn animators. But AI is not going away, and it's also an art form if you use it the way that I do.
I mean, when I know I talked about this earlier, speaking to people looking for jobs or opportunities, um, like seeing that someone has taught themselves any form of AI for me looking to hire someone says so much to me about them and the type of worker that they are because they're not learning AI at their job or school or whatever. Like AI kind of at this point in time is like you kind of got to teach it yourself. And you can go to the discovery of like either yes, trial and error, but also like some people on YouTube and stuff like that. And I feel like that is for me at least, I really look for people that have experience to at least they don't need to be an AI expert, but the idea that they understand it and are curious about it.
Yeah, no, and listen, I found 3 AI artists on, Instagram. I have 3, only because their work spoke to me. Yeah, I think they're artists. I think their work is amazing. And otherwise, it's also a very manufactured, art form. You gotta roll with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Randy, thank you
Thank you
so much
so
for coming
much.
on. This was
Yeah, this was
amazing to have
great.
you. Thank you for being on the show. So if people want to find you, how can they find you? What's the best way? Like your company?
Yeah, rwmedia.tv.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. And we'll put it in the description of
That'd be
the
great.
YouTube channel if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So we'll go. Thank you so much for coming
All
today.
right, my
Yeah.
pleasure.
All
This
right.
was fun.